everyone doing? So my name is Mrs. Rosera the Goddess, and I'm here with my girl. Introduce yourself.
Hi, you guys. I'm Stephanie. You can find me at my handles Make Me Up Steph on Instagram.
My handle, of course, is Mrs. Rosera the Goddess, as I just mentioned. So I'm gonna give you a little brief insight about who I am. So some of you already know who I am, like a brief intro. I go by Mrs. Rosera the Goddess, of course, on Instagram. However, I'm a radio personality. I'm a model. Also, I'm a hostess. I'm also a poet. I'm also a poet. So I do a little bit of everything, but also going back into my my education. So that way I have a little bit of insight of where I get my information from.
That's right.
So I went to school for computer software specialist, so I definitely know how to navigate computers and type. Also, I'm very familiar with medication and stuff like that because I had my certificate in pharmacy technician. So I was a pharmacy technician for a while, so I definitely understand how the pharmaceutical company works, how it's branded, how the FDA comes into play.
Yes.
How things are patented, and things of that nature. So I definitely have insight into the pharmaceutical world, medication world. Also, on top of that, my undergrad is in healthcare management. So I understand how the health field works and how things are played out, as in like medical insurance, as in the process of how hospitals even got started, how medication even came into play. So I definitely have the root nature of that information as well. And on top of that, I'm working on getting my master's in psychology.
Yes.
So those are like a brief intro of who I am and what I do in like the corporate world and also the entertainment world.
And there's so much more. There's layers. There's layers.
Yeah, so I'm still developing. And you know what I mean? I'm definitely, and even like being Latina, I know we talk about this, being a girl Latina, I was definitely having to do everything myself because I didn't come from the luxury background of having my mom go to college. I'm the first to go this far in my whole family to even get close to a master's.
And you're and what generation are you here? Because that has a lot to do with it as well. Because same thing.
I'm first generation here, as in I was born on American soil.
Right.
So my mother was born in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
My father was too. So when they came here to the state, they both ain't know English.
Right.
So I'm first generation here.
So I'm first generation here too.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was my mom was born here, so I guess my mom died in second.
Yeah, second.
But my dad was born in Puerto Rico.
For her, then you'll be first generation.
It's so weird, right? As I said, my name is Stephanie. I work with Latino Partnership Institute. I'm an advocate for Latin people, and that's very new to me just because being born here, Puerto Rican people, whether we like to admit it or not, and here, meaning Philadelphia, which is like the second largest population of Puerto Rican people. When you're born in the States, you have this identity like, who am I, right? Who am I? What kind of Puerto Rican am I? Like, I'm a Philly Rican, right? But not really. But that's that's a part of conditioning, right? So yeah, I like to advocate for our people, bring truth to power. Melissa's the one with all the 1,000 degrees. I just have lived experience.
That still counts.
Right.
You just need a paper in America so they can solidify. That's all it's
true.
about.
It's so true.
That's all it's about.
Imagine all of the
experience that you really need, a life experience.
Yeah, or really are especially Puerto Rican people, where you have really, really smart, intelligent people, but maybe they can't write it on paper, but they're geniuses. Like,
that's true.
Because having it on paper, maybe to write and read, is not the only type of genius. Like, even if we want to talk about like just like Amazonian people, like they have different technologies. What their technology is may not be a phone, but that doesn't mean that they're not smart, not creative.
I think we need to take away college is a way to solidify people. However, college just doesn't make you smart. You know what I mean? College doesn't equate money. It just doesn't. We have this
endurance though.
You have endurance. Yeah. You have endurance. It definitely gets you a way of thinking. Like, teaches you how to research, teaches you how to write, teaches you how to articulate, things of that nature. Yeah, that comes into play. However, don't get it confused. Whereas though you can self-educate yourself too.
Absolutely, 100%. Like what is it called? YouTube University.
YouTube University. Google now could be your best friend.
It's true.
So I always tell people this is my route, but just because this is my route doesn't mean it's your route.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that I'm smarter than the next one.
Right.
It just means that I went through the process.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you're going to be rich, right? But it is going to give you a job.
And that was a lot of the reason why I didn't go back to continue my education, because I was like, first of all, who's going to be paying for all of this? Like, you know, especially when you come from, like, I think most Puerto Rican people, you come from middle class or maybe, you know.
Oh, poverty. Poverty is like basically, you know, if you still, I feel like poverty, yeah, you have like third world country poverty. That's like a different level. However, still in America, if you're growing up and you need public assistance, your family
Absolutely.
on food stamps,
Yes.
Your family on PHA,
Which is a game.
Yeah, public housing. Those are all assistance programs. Like if you had to grow up with those type of people, that means they're still in control. Like you know what I mean. Whereas my mother had like she had to go every once a year, I think, to go PHA to see where her income level was at because it fluctuated.
Which we all know brings a certain level of stress and anxiety to people because God forbid you're $1 over. Like now your rent goes from what? 300 to 1,000, and you're like, this doesn't make any sense. It's a way to keep us fearful and to make us not want to do better and to strive for more.
Correct.
Because then they'll take it all away. Which I think we should mention. Me and Melissa are from the same neighborhood, which is Center City, Wallace, Mount Vernon area, 16th, 17th, and Mount Vernon, Wallace. And if you go now, you would never know. You would never know. We have been gentrified on different extremes where also like you breaking up that identity and being forced out your neighborhood. Having people that we grew up with who forced out the neighborhood when it's in other neighborhoods and they've died. They've got
lost in drugs. You know, growing up, which now is considered like, of course, I think even then it was considered the Spring Garden Fair in my area. But if you go back to like as like you know the 80s and the 90s, that was monopolized really by like Hispanic cultures and a lot of
the Mecca of Puerto Rican people. Yeah.
So, but we had a community. So Stephanie, we knew generations going back. So my family, when they migrated here, that was the area they migrated to. However, a lot of people migrated and they knew like 3 generations back. So Stephanie, like we know each other, but Stephanie, our parents know each other, and even our grandparents know each other. So that's how it goes 3 generations back. Right? That's a community. Yeah. So you're able to trust. We was able to stay outside. We was able to play.
Yeah.
However, in the early 2000s, because I was still in high school, when we were slowly starting to see change and stuff like that. So slowly but surely, my mother was employed at that time. And when she was employed, like she had to go to PHA, Philadelphia Housing Authority, and every month they had to like reevaluate her income, right? So she worked at McDonald's. She was a manager, and then
do you ever feel like at that time? Did you ever feel like she was more stressed around that time when you know she had to go in for her reevaluations? Because I know whenever I had to reevaluate, I was like scared that they were going to take it all away because I'm working too hard and I'm getting a little bit more income, and that was like.
I think she was stressed because honestly, like I think my mother did a good job. Like my mom, she's just I don't know how she keep it all in, but she does.
Puerto Rican strength.
She went from paying like $400, I believe, a month to having and this is a McDonald's paycheck with 4 kids, remind you, to having to pay $1,000 on top of the utilities, which was like. My mother was like, how am I going to pay that? And thank God my dad was out at that time when he came from prison.
And just to paint the picture, you're paying $1,000
apartment,
and you're in the hood. Like
still in the hood.
It's not. There's different types of hoods, right? Right. So at that time, it was just not a great area to live in. Like now you fast forward, it's like CCP, Temple taking over. It's not community at all. Like my mom still lives in the neighborhood.
She does.
Yeah, she still lives in the neighborhood, and we don't know our neighbors because they're college kids moving in and out. They're people who you know.
I feel like that's major because we all grew up together, so we all knew one another. I would go over to my friend's house. We would stay out all night. I remember staying out till like 2 or 3 in the morning. I don't know. I was like having fun time.
Because it was community.
It was everybody knew everybody was.
Right.
Like, you'd be like, "Where's Melissa at? You know,
Right.
where's my child at?" And
Right.
someone would be like, "Oh, I see Melissa here. I see Melissa there."
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the same with
It
you.
was
Like
tracking.
yeah, we lived on the same block. So whereas I remember having like 3 or 4 houses on the block. It was like not even a lot.
And it was a lot of vacant lots, overgrown. And if you go now today, there's $1 million houses sitting in those vacant lots.
Yeah.
And no Puerto Rican people own them.
That's what's so crazy that no one owns anything. So gentrification for me was really real because we grew up in a community. We grew up in the hood, but there's different levels of hood, right? So growing up, and we still had a community. We still did the hood, like we still got played and we played in the pump. We wasn't really exposed. People did drugs, but we wasn't exposed to it to the extent it was in North Philly, like the other end, like around like Lehigh, Kensington and Lehigh.
It's a different wave.
When I had to move into that area because we couldn't afford to live in that area no more. So
in the Spring Garden area.
In the Spring Garden area. So we moved. We relocated to North Philly. So we had to move up. So that time we moved around Norris Street. And even that's being developed too now. But at that time we had to move to Norris Street. And when we moved to Norris Street, this is when I seen somebody get shot. This is when I seen somebody actually drop down and like die. This is when I seen we couldn't come outside no more. This is when a lot was happening. Like, people would be stabbed on the block. It was like what? I didn't know nobody. Nobody knew me.
And that sense of community is now gone because they're not the 3-4 generations going back. And just like on the other side, I got to stay in the neighborhood, but then I got to see everybody leave. And that was like a different type of heartbreak because then you don't have any no familiar people. Like, who can you depend on if not your community, right? And then you see it also affects like even my grandma. Like, her girlfriends had to move out the notherhood. And it's just like, I mean, they're already 60, 70 years old and they've been here for years. Like, and you're asking them to pick up to relocate to a whole nother place. Like, in a sense, like, breaking up community is traumatic. Like, the Spring Garden area was just superly heavily populated by Puerto Rican people that around, I'm going to say 18th and Spring Garden. I don't have the dates right now, but around, you guys can look this up. It's out there on the web. 18th Spring Garden, if you go now, it's a big like communal garden, but it used to be apartment buildings that were rented out to Puerto Rican people.
My grandmother lived there, got burned.
Yes, so landlords wanted them out, so they would like stop paying. They would stop the heat. They would like do all types of crazy, inhumane shit, and then they burnt down the apartment buildings. And I mean, that's just to see like
there's no apartment building still to this day.
No,
it's a whole garden. Talking about the pain, I cried when I had to leave my neighborhood. Oh my God! Even though I was 18, 19, I was like, oh my God! Like, where are we going at? Like, who are we going to talk to, right? And it's like, and now that you bring it up, like, oh my God, I forgot all about that pain. But I was like, I don't know these people. It was like going outside was like, who are these people? Like, I would tell my mom, like, you know what I mean? Like, she was like a good support. And I was like, Mom, like, I can't, I would go to the playground, over for Clemente and like hang out and talk to my, and I was like, my whole life changed. And I'm like, it was really traumatic. I would cry. I would literally cry because I was like, I just miss my neighborhood. Like, I just miss my, people. My people just being in it because they see me grow up. Like, everything was in that community. And I'm like, and now that I have my son, I was like, yo, he would never know what it felt like to have what I had. And it was definitely
even though like we were poor, we still had sense of togetherness. And then I want to say maybe like around mid 2000s, like early 2000s, mid 2000, like 2005-ish. That's when the neighborhood really, even though it was under development now, drugs really came into the neighborhood. And so I was definitely one of those kids that grew up in PHA, and like even though like we weren't selling crack out of our apartment building, our neighbor like, this is your door, this is their door.
And they probably was selling it.
And they were. And so I got to see plenty of young mamas walk through
Yeah, and that's
get
something.
served.
Yeah,
Like
during your time. Yeah, just what year was this? You said.
maybe 2004ish.
Okay, see, I was already like about to move out the community, right?
Yep.
Like then, and you do have those levels of like, huh, like it's going to happen because drugs is in every community.
Right.
So drugs is no exception for that area, but now it's probably was just more hitting. I think in our community it was more hitting more so. Sometimes.
Yeah, because you know everybody and everybody knows your business. Like, but, it's true. And as it started to like, people started to leave, other things started to come, and people. And the thing was, it was like, even though it was still like people of color technically in these houses, because now it was becoming more mixed, so more black people were coming in, Mexicans were coming in, and that was fine and everything, but it still felt communal. Yeah, it still felt communal, but then I don't know the word, but it felt like that, but then I mean, now if you go, there's no park. That's one of the biggest things. There's no parking.
Now it's like the for real city,
and people. I mean, now there's houses with garages. Like we never had no damn garage. Like people walking their pets, their dogs. And stuff
they have this beautiful dog park. Cause I still go in the neighborhood. Yeah. I like to go in there because they have like a lot of cool restaurants and stuff like that.
They have great. It's great scenery. You want to be down there.
Yeah, you do.
Really
I would love to move back.
So now I don't live in the neighborhood. I had to move out. Like, and this is the thing. Like, so I had to look something up. The year my mother was born, there was a house on 16th and Mount Vernon that sold for $1.
Damn.
And that same house is probably a $1 million house or apartment,
Facts.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, if our people knew about property and investments and buying, like me and you, low key should have $1 million houses. But when you're pushed out of the community, you're not given those tools. There's no access to it. This is what happens, and this is not new. Like this is from Puerto Rico to here. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is in every urban community, every type of urban lifestyle. This is not just a Philadelphia thing. Any type of urban, they know what the urban community is.
Right. Look at New York.
In New York. It doesn't matter. New York, New Jersey, anything that's urban. This is happening. They know exactly how they play people who are not in tune. I don't want to say uneducated, but they more ignorant towards it, shall I say.
Right.
Whereas though, with that, my mom would never. I do my mom paperwork. She is not going to do the paperwork of buying a house and going through all that.
Right.
She's just not equipped for that type of level of thinking at this time. Or just like at that time, maybe she would, but it was like she had kids. She was under a lot of stress. She was raising 4 kids alone.
Like, and when you're in survival mode,
she was hard. So she was not going to be thinking about. She had no idea that was even going to be happening until it happened. But they knew, because a lot of real estate people are always 10 years ahead. That's what people don't know. They always are ahead while we're playing catch up. Right. And then you got to think they didn't know about buying houses, managing houses. Like I'm still learning that now. I'm like, what? How is this? How is that? Like, because no one introduced it to me. Right. So I'm always like, what's happening?
And you were the first in your family?
I was the first
out of your mom's kids
to buy a house.
Yeah.
Yes, the first in my mom. Same. Yeah, the family to actually buy a house. And it was like a process. Whereas it's a lot of paperwork involved. You know, you like a lot of things are coming at you, and you had to fill out the paperwork. And I don't think that my mom at that time or anybody at that time was thinking that much ahead. Yeah. But we live in a community where you can walk down Fairmount Park, where you can walk to the gallery. Right. Everything was still there. Right. You can walk to these places. Yeah. Like, it was amazing. Like, you needed to go downtown, you take the 33 bus.
Yep. So location, right?
Location.
We knew what we had, but we didn't buy into it. We didn't know how, and we didn't have the funds. We didn't have the money.
We was on PHA. What we buy it?
Right, nothing. Like, and the thing is, like I said, when the welfare system or PHA is set up so that way, like, when you what are the poverty rates like?
Yeah, they low.
You go $5 over the poverty rate.
Then you're in a whole new bracket.
My God, but you know what? That's systematic for us to, to not succeed, right? To not be able to move forward or be empowered. Like, now imagine if downtown area was still 100% populated by Puerto Rican people who own $1 million houses. Like, I think in Philadelphia, Puerto Rican people make about 15% of the population, but over 50% of us live in extreme poverty. Like, How can that happen? And then we go back to like the island, like, you know, same thing there. How do Puerto Rican people live on a big ass island, beautiful big ass island, and still be impoverished people? Like, it's about policy. It's about the history of Puerto Rico and how they've disseminated us, destroyed us, hurt us.
I like being American because I was born here. My mother didn't want to know anything about Puerto Rico for me. It was as if Puerto Rico was really a distant place and I wasn't Puerto Rican. But then I went to a black school, nothing wrong with it. Of course, I love the black community.
Right.
Whereas though I'm in this new culture of the black community, but I clearly I'm a little different, right? I look a little different. And it's like, well, you're not black.
And that school was in a Latin neighborhood, like an all-black school, 2 blocks away from a predominantly Puerto Rican neighborhood. So it wasn't a race thing. No. It was comfortable.
It was comfortable, yeah. So, you know, I always grew up. So anyway, going into that school and stuff like that, I'm like, I'm Puerto Rican. They were like, Melissa speaks Spanish. I'm like, I don't speak Spanish. They were like, well, you supposed to be Spanish. You speak Spanish, right? And then I'm like, and then they were like, where you from? I don't know where the hell I'm from. I'm from here. I'm from America.
Right.
And then it's like, you know, but then you lose those identities. They were like, oh, you don't watch novelas? Novelas? No, I don't watch novelas. You don't listen to the Spanish music. You don't do the salsa. And I'm like, I don't listen to the Spanish music or the novelas. I don't even know what they're saying.
Yeah, same.
And it's like, well, then I'm like, well, who am I? And for a minute, since I'm fair skinned, I'm light, right? So I'm considered a higher class in the Latin community just because of my color, right?
It's a lot of colorism within the Latin community, but we know that all has to do with like slavery, colonization,
So they would be like, you know, they had me thinking, they was like, oh, you could pass for a blanca, like linga, and then basically that became my new identity, like wanting to be white, right? Because I would dye my hair black, because I wanted to fit in with this, because I didn't know where I fit in, and then my hair was curly, I would straighten it, get the flat, because I did not want my hair to be curly. I was like, no, I don't want my hair to be curly. So I did everything I could to not be Latin, right? And it was just like, because my mom made it seem like it was like, and I was like, Mom, I want to know about Puerto Rico. She would not tell me about Puerto Rico. She was like, just, it doesn't even matter. And I'm like, Mom, where are you from? She's like, I don't even know. And I was like, how do you not know where you, but she didn't know. She just didn't want to tell me.
Because there was some things probably attached to why she didn't want to tell you. Whatever, and that's her story, you know, to tell. There's reasons why maybe she kept it from you. My grandma was the same way. Well, she did tell us where she was from. But when we would ask her about like her life, she was so secretive, and that really does come from her experience on the island. And a lot of people experience, Puerto Rican people are very secretive people. Like they will not tell you. But you know, if you guys get a chance, if you look up the carpetas in Puerto Rico, actually what it was, the CIA, our good old CIA, they went ahead and they worked with the government, with the American government, and pretty much was like, there's an uprising happening in Puerto Rico. Like, these people are trying to be independent. They're trying to, like, be nationalists. They're, like, trying to fight for their island. And at that time, they were making so much money off of Puerto Rico by the sugarcane plantations, coconut, all of the resources that they had. Puerto Rican people were enslaved on their own island, didn't get to benefit at all. Like Domino Sugar, I should have showed you the thing. Domino Sugar, which is like probably a multi-billionaire organization now to this day, use and abuse Puerto Rican people on sugarcane fields. And I can tell you, there's not one billionaire Puerto Rican person who, you know, benefited off of like this harsh labor. Like, but carpetas, like the CIA, they went in and basically was spying on the whole island. So even if you live there and you're like 6, like Melissa goes to school every day. This is what she wore this day.
That's so weird.
It is weird. And they did that because they were trying to paint a picture of Puerto Rican people as uneducated, thieves, sexual beasts, and
they did. They did that because that's what we're identified as.
Yeah.
Like most of us are thieves. Yeah. We're low class thinkers. Yeah. Yeah. We're low class people. They did a great job of making that happen.
So at that time, because they were like writing these letters about people, and like literally these are official CIA documents. You can actually go and look at them today. Like you can find them today. And you know, people that have went through that actually got their letters and got to see what was written about them. Like,
are you serious?
Yeah, at that time. And I feel like that's a lot of the secrecy that probably came from my grandmom as well. Like, don't tell anybody your business because they'll just use it against you.
Like the CIA.
Yeah.
That's what they
did.
did.
CIA.
Good. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. So, guys, definitely give us our thoughts. This is Melissa, of course, Miss Missouri, guys, that y'all know me. This is Stephanie, Makeup by Stephanie.
Yep. Make me up, Steph.
Make me up, Steph. My apologies.
No.
So, definitely. So, today what we touched on was a little bit of brief about who Stephanie and I am.
Yeah.
This is like some cap. We also touched about, like you said, the massacre, which is definitely dope.
No, the carpeta.
The carpeta,
Ponce
sorry.
Massacre is something different, but I
okay.
To get your book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we touched on the carpetas. Then also we talked about gentrification, where we're from.
Yeah.
And then we talked about another topic in regards to like transitioning from one area to like another community, and what it's like to be a Latina American.
Yeah.
You know. So definitely, guys. You know, DM us if you think any of these topics touch to you.
Yep.
We're not closed-minded. Definitely, we want to talk about not just the Hispanic culture, but all cultures. And you know what I mean? So that way we can bring in more insight to different things, talk about trauma. We're definitely open to anything that you want to give us. You know, maybe some things we could do to work better on. I don't know. Like, just give us your insight, because this is not just about us. It's about us, you know, building something that's with the community. So definitely.
This is the community's platform also to get it off your chest. What do you want to hear about? What, you know, like I said, we want to bring truth to power. We can't just be me and Melissa. It has to be all of us. And sometimes, you know, on this journey, we're figuring out who we are, and you're going to figure out who you are with us.
Exactly. So thank you guys for listening. Don't be a stranger. DM us, email us. We're definitely open.
Yes.
Later.
Bye.